Hi, I'm Renee Dowling from Reflections Art Studio and Community Classroom. Welcome to my studio. My mission is to help people live a happy, healthy, creative life by teaching them art techniques so they can express themselves. And this is day 7 or 8, I can't remember now. I started last Wednesday, so I guess that would be 5, 6, 7, 8, day 8. We've been doing all kinds of things like collaging, mixed media, using acrylic paint, watercolor paint, pencil crayons, pastels, markers, you name it, we've done it. But the challenge yesterday was to create a comic showing, that's a Gary there, showing a day in the life of yourself. And this is mine. And so the assignment was to break your page up into boxes and make a room for a title, and then throughout the day document what you're doing, and even if it's really mundane. And so my first thing is that I showed my husband and I in bed, and it was like 1 o'clock, and then 2 o'clock, then 3 o'clock, and I kept waking up thinking about a whole bunch of things, and then my cat started meowing. And so that's what this first one here is about. And then the next box down here is just my mundane breakfast that I have with toast. And then the next one is me trying to get things ready for my Facebook Live, wondering if the internet is going to work. And then this one is just me getting tea, or making some chai tea and getting ready for the day. And this is just showing me isolating in my studio. You can see me sitting right there in the window all by myself. Actually, I'm creating art and Skyping and stuff like that. And then as I was doing my Facebook Live, then the internet kept cutting out, and so I actually wasn't this mad, but in comics you want to exaggerate, and it's like, this internet. And then after my Facebook Live lesson was over, then my granddaughter Skyped me on Kids Messenger, and we were having fun being silly and changing our faces. And then this is a thing that my cat does every day. She sits in front of the window. Her name is Checkers, and she makes this funny sound, and it's usually when there are birds outside on the deck. And then yesterday my dog got loose, and she was running around in the canal and visiting our horses, and I put the caption, "Just try to catch me," because she'll come and run after, or like really close to us, and then run away again. So we just wait for her to come to us. We don't chase her anymore. We've learned that lesson. And then here is just something that I heard Prime Minister Trudeau say yesterday about your grandfather may have left Canada to go for war, to support Canada. Your grandmother might have fought for women's rights, and now it's your turn to do your part. Just one simple thing: stay home and follow the rules. So, I mean, there were lots of other things, but I just kind of tried to keep it simple so I could get done in one day. And I realized that I had been spending a lot of time on the internet trying to get things going. My husband wanted to watch a Facebook Live musical concert by John Party, and we couldn't get it working on our TV, and so finally we gave up and thought we would watch it later. So if these lessons are a little bit jiggity-jaggedy at your place, you can always stop it, and it will record and be saved on Facebook. And it'll also be on my YouTube channel, which is, it's a long title, Renee Dowling Reflections Art Studio, and the videos will be there. I would love it if you would share what you are doing after you've watched, or while you're doing the lesson, or after the lesson is over and you have. So show like your work in progress, but also show when you're finished. If you'd like to, you can join my Facebook group. It's called Renee Loves Art Reflections Visual Journaling Group. And it's a group where you can feel safe to share your work, people and support you. And it's also, people can't share from there, so feel free to share. I'm challenging you, if you're enjoying what you're doing, to give to the local food bank. And they're in dire needs with all the people being unemployed and not working. More people are requesting their services. So to say thank you for your free art lesson, instead you can give the money to donate at medicinatfoodbank.com. They're asking for e-transfers so that you don't leave the house and you can still isolate. So today's new art lesson is making a comic again. But this time, what I want you to do is think about a life event or a conversation that sometimes that story could be something you want to remember, or you just want to forget and get it off your mind. So the example that I have for you today that I did a while ago, actually 2016, so 3 years ago, was took place at our wedding. And I titled this, going backwards here, 13 Kids. So at our at our reception, so here I put, I toast to the bride's family, cling, 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 cling. And then here's a picture of my husband. He said, I am the last male Dowling. If it takes 13 tries to get a boy to carry on the Dowling name, so be it. Forgot to put my headphones on. And then 13 kids, I thought to myself, and so I drew out 13 kids and like, oh no. And then here's a picture of my mom and dad saying, what, 13? This is news to us. And then it has here, 9 months later, I'm standing in front of the couch and I put, it's time. And then the thought about 13 crosses my mind. It's like, oh dear, I hope this is a boy. And then here's me in labor and I'm going, ugh, I need ice chips. And then I'm still thinking about 13. And then the nurse says, congratulations, it's a boy. April 7th, 1990. And said, and I thought in her mind she was saying, in this day and age, you'd think she wouldn't care if it's a boy or a girl. And then I said to her, let me explain. So then I have 13, ... a baby, a boy, ... phew. And then at the end here, she says, now I understand, phew. And then here's my husband in his favorite rugby shirt. The Dowling name lives on. So the idea here is to represent your story, and it can be as detailed as you like. The people can just be cartoons or stick figures. It's up to you. Or you can go into true realism if that's your wish. So what I want you to do is think of some possible titles, because sometimes that will give you some inspiration. So I thought the whole purpose of mine was 13 Kids. What I did before I brainstormed some ideas. Oops. So I wrote out some, I'm not getting used to this backwards business. So I brainstormed a bunch of things. So the first one was 13 Kids. Another story I thought is Water is Deep. My son one day he went into the corrals. We were watching some baby foxes and it was, there was lots of water in the corrals, and he started singing, water is deep, water is fine. So I thought I might tell that story. Another title I had is One Dry Leg. We went ice fishing with my entire family, and my mom kept saying to everybody, be careful, watch out. And watch out for the holes. She was so worried that we were going to step in it. And so we all were gathering to have lunch. And what does my mom do? She steps into a hole. And then we called her One Dry Leg and made fun of her because she was so worried about us. And then there was there, Mrs. Dowling. It must have been a student. Oh, that was like on the first day of school, and I said to the kids, I was really upset because they weren't listening, so I pretended I was really sad, and I put my head down on the desk, and they came up to me and said, there, Mrs. Dowling, and they stroked my cheek, and some of them gave me a kiss on the cheek. And one was Magic in My Mind, and that was from a student, Ben, but I can't remember what that was about, something about his imagination. And then, Brooklyn said thank you. And then I decided to go with the 13 kids story. So I planned it out, what was going to go first, second, third, fourth, and I decided I was going to do 12 different boxes. And so I did eliminate some of them, and like I didn't go into so many details. And then it ended up like this. Oops, the wrong one. Like this. So the first thing I want you to do is pick a possible title, think of a story that you would like to tell, and then decide how many boxes you're going to do. And I think probably, let's see, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one has 13 because one was reserved. Well, and it was for 13 kids too. So that's a good idea. And so one for the title, your name and the date, and then the rest for your story. Now, when you're thinking this through, like sometimes, like in this box right here, I'm just gonna see if I can get rid of those tools so I can see better. In this box right here, I did mostly writing, and then I just had the number 13 emphasized right here. And so some boxes you might choose not to do any illustration at all and just have a speech balloon. And then sometimes you just want to have like really no text. You could have no text, that's fine too. And just rely on the picture telling the story. And then you might also consider the perspective. So I'm just going to turn back to the one that I was showing you from yesterday. So you might decide to do different perspectives. So this might be like a diagonal perspective looking from like a bird's eye view, but looking at an angle. This one is looking straight towards it. This is just showing part of somebody's face. You could show like just part of a person's hand. But the idea is just to show the main idea, and for people, you can just make sure that if it's your dad and he wore glasses, make sure the glasses really represent him, and then not have to worry about the facial features. Another thing to consider is that maybe that you might show a perspective of people looking down or people looking up. You can do a side view, a front view. There's all kinds of things that you can do. So, and also you can include your thoughts and feelings, your specific words. So what I thought I would do is I am remembering some things that happened on a major trip we took to Vancouver Island. Every summer when my oldest son was still in junior high and high school, I would go to Vancouver Island and Courtney Comox area, so he could take a hockey camp there and we could enjoy the ocean. It was the very first time the whole family was going to the ocean. So that's what I think that my cartoon is going to be about. And I haven't quite decided on the title yet, but I will figure that out as I'm working. I'm also going to try to be more brave than I did my first one, and I'm not going to plan it out. So some of the things I might not remember in order, but I don't think it's really that important for this because it's just going to be a bunch of little quotes that people said throughout our trip. So I'm using Moleskine watercolor journal, and this one is smaller than the one that I just showed you. So I have to either make my boxes smaller or go across 2 pages or just do less boxes. Okay, so I'm going to just change the angle of the camera. And I'm using to draw my boxes. I might decide to use my dip pen. I haven't quite decided for reference. So that might be something that you might do too, is go through your photo album and then decide on what photos that you could use. And you can also decide too, do you want all of your boxes to be the same size? Do you want some to be more rectangular than square? You could even do round ones, I suppose. With this, you could even do like, you know how the old Polaroid Insta cameras printed out the photos? You could even make it look like photographs instead. So I'm going to just get a medium size. And I think I'm going to go with the same amount of cartoon boxes as my previous one. And if you're into using a ruler, you go for it. I'm not. And please go for it. Oops. That's not what I was expecting. You might also decide to do yours just all in black and white and then just paint around the square. If you have any questions for me, you can put it in the comments and I'll try to answer them in the video. If not, I will send you a message after in the comments. There, so for now I'm going to leave that first one empty. Vancouver Island, here we come. But I'm not sure yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off. We went to, we decided to take our F-350 to Vancouver Island. Can you imagine? Because as you know, if you have to go through Vancouver to get to the ferry, and here we are driving this huge F-350 white Ford truck down Vancouver streets. And my son had to go to the washroom and we pulled over on a side road. And so my oldest son and my littlest son went to a restaurant to try to use the washroom. And while we were sitting there, this lady knocked on our window and she said, "If I were you, I wouldn't park here. This is a bad part of the town to be in." Plus, we stood out like a sore thumb with our truck because everybody has little tiny vehicles. So maybe I'll start with that. Let's see. What perspective do I want? Truck like this and then lady standing here. Maybe that's what I'll do. So I'll just show part of the truck. Oh dear. My husband sitting there waiting. We had a running, the youngest son had to leave a little part of him because we always had to stop at times. So maybe I could have, let's see. Maybe this is supposed to be details. It's just telling a story. And then maybe a lady should say, "I wouldn't park here if I were you. I would not park here." I don't even remember what she looked like or anything. Maybe I'll have her saying it as she's walking away. I'm gonna just change pens because this one's a bit thick. Then I can always come back and add some more details. I felt sorry for my son that day because then people wouldn't let him use the bathroom because they weren't using the restaurant, and he had to go so bad, and finally they had to go to different places, and then finally they let him in. So I might come back and add some more details. One of the places that we stopped on the way there was Greenwood, and we were told that that there were a whole bunch of robberies in the neighborhood, and that they were stealing F-350s. And so we couldn't sleep all night. We were watching. My husband was going to sleep in the truck. So if someone tried to steal his truck, then they would have to steal him too. So we didn't get very much sleep. He kept getting up in the middle of the night. He decided not to sleep in the truck, but he got up in the middle of the night and kept checking it. And so night. So I think I'm going to maybe draw us again in bed, and so his head's on the pillow. The covers. And he's thinking, oh, will my truck be here tomorrow? There's the door. There's that "You are here" sign. And his hair. No, I'm drawing the bubble or the thought bubble after I do the writing, because if you write too big, then you might not be able to fit in a bubble that you've already drawn. All right, so let's see what else I want to say. Okay, so then we were heading down the highway, and it seemed like we could only go for like maybe 45 minutes at a time, and then we would encounter a car accident. So we'd sit and sit and sit and sit and sit, and then finally we'd get to go. So a couple of things were kind of funny. As we were sitting there, my youngest son said, "Mom, even the clouds are moving faster than we are." So that's one thing that I want to put down. And then I just stumbled on a video, and then my oldest son, he said, basically, we just got by a crash, and everyone is zooming by us, which will cause another crash. So he thought, like, after the third time, that he was sick and tired of people making bad choices, because it was taking us hours and hours to inch along the highway. So I wanted to show that. Now, in the back of our truck, my son had a gazillion different little stuffed animals. And so I want to show him sitting in the back of the truck with a whole bunch of animals. I'm just trying to find, I had a picture picked out that I wanted to. So I'll first of all make sure that I have some clouds. I'll just leave it like that. Then once we finally got to Vancouver, we decided to go for a walk. And what we came across, we went across the big, I think it's called the Lions Gate Bridge. And when we came to a sort of a forest that's beside it, and we found a great big maple leaf. And it was bigger than my son. I'm not have any writing at all. But I'm going to draw the great big maple leaf. And okay, so maple leaf first. I do want to show that in the background was the bridge. It kind of went like this. And then this great big huge leaf. Side of your box. Because it's yours and you can do whatever you like. And you can decide how much details you're going to put in. And when I paint over that, that line there will disappear, so I'm not too worried about it. And then there is my son's shoulder. And then here you can see just a little bit of his head, and his hat. There. And then we went whale watching. Oh, one of the things when my son was at hockey school, I'll include that in here. He said, "You're not going to go to the ocean while I'm in hockey school." And we said, "Well, what do you expect? We're going to just sit in the hotel room and wait for you all day?" Because it went from like 8:30 till, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think that's what I'll include here is him standing looking really sad at the hockey rink. We did. We saw starfish and all kinds of animals in the Courtney Comox area. He wasn't very happy with this, but then on the way back, then we stopped and we did a whole bunch of things that he liked to do. So we didn't feel bad at all. All right, so let's see what I could draw for. I'll maybe draw him skating on the hockey rink, and then there's a little thought bubble coming out. So I'm going to do the thought bubble first so that I don't have to squish. All right, so here he is. His hockey helmet. Full face mask, safety first. Big hockey gloves. Look like oven mitts. He's just a zooming. Oh dear. The boards behind him. Oh dear. All right. So we decided to go whale watching, and there was a sign that showed waves, and this was in Tofino. Medium high. Low or calm. And we decided this was our last day. It was medium high, almost very high. But we didn't know when we would get to the ocean again. So we decided to go whale watching. It was guaranteed that we were going to see whales. So there we were. It was actually a really hot day. In our full body Brian's was 6 sizes too big for him. And it had little reflective stripes on here so that, got into an accident, they could see us floating. Yay, that's always encouraging. Great big hoods, so when it's windy you can pull them up. And then they have straps around so you can tighten them around your legs. And then I was standing behind him thinking this is rather. I'm just going to I don't want you to be intimidated and think that you have to be like a really good artist or anything like that. I just want you to be brave and tell a story. And if anything, it's just going to bring back some really great memories. There's my son, taller than me. Always remember, you're not a camera. And if you wanted perfect pictures, just take a picture, print it out, glued it, put it in your photo album, and done. But this is more fun. I have almost looks like a piece of bacon. Let me fix his arm. There we go. And then my husband beside. Has to have his shades on.